Damn, what is up, my internet friends? Welcome to Walking and Talking, the show where I walk and talk. Starting off is always hard. In fact, I feel almost terrified. But as soon as I say that, and then think about what that even means, the meaning of terrified kind of dissipates into a bunch of its component sensations and concepts, which themselves already are seeming to dissipate into their component feelings and concepts. Anyhow, I had severe doubts about even beginning this video because I felt so intensely confused as to what I'm doing and even what kind of viewpoint am I trying to express. I felt confused as to what it was I was going to say or had to say, or what it was that I'm working towards. I felt as if I felt cloudy-minded, as if I needed to come to some relative point of clarity from which to begin. But now that I find myself saying all these things, it doesn't seem so. In fact, it's as if the perspective brought about simply by turning on the camera and therefore communicating with you is totally different than the lead up to it. The attitude is different. And these concerns seem able to just drop. Not that I've at all resolved them or come to any conclusion about them. They've simply dropped and I'm simply talking. And I sense that the talking could become even simpler. Like, in some way, it could almost be interpreted as, just by simply talking, I'm almost distracting myself. Is that an interesting Freudian slip? From all this inner conflict, this apparent inner conflict and tension and existential questioning. And now I'm just communicating with you and I don't know if I really have anything to communicate in the content of these words, but in some way there might be something to communicate in the process of communicating itself. Maybe that's just it, actually. is simply communicating but without any content. Like, I keep trying to understand big things like what consciousness and what reality is, and sometimes there exists in my mind an idea that there is something that could be gotten, or even that I've gotten it before, or that I've reached clarity on these matters in the past, but I'm somehow unable to hang on to that clarity about what exactly life is and what exactly consciousness is and reality and so forth, and the nature of time and the nature of mind and all of that fun stuff. And I can hear other people articulate explanations of these things in such a clear seeming way sometimes, but then it's not ever quite it. No matter how far one goes, it's never quite it. There's always something about it evading. There's always something evading understanding. It's always a little bit out of reach. Like a greased pig, or like an eel always slipping out of your hands. I think I still feel confused but since beginning this communication with you, it's as if I feel slightly more calmly confused, or how I would describe it is as shifting from confused to just not knowing. I continue to have all these goals and desires and things that I think I should do that kind of amount to who I think I should be. All these ideas that the web of which constitutes like a prospective self that I could be if I just do these particular things. And then I strive towards those things and encounter so many contingencies that just don't cooperate with all of my plans. And then I just kind of do what I have to do. It feels fine, I think. I'm just dealing with contingencies. I'm changing the air filters on my car. I'm replacing my brakes. I'm just a moment. Hello.
How far to the parking lot?
It's pretty close.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Have a good day.
You too. I'm trying to find the place to walk and talk. That seems appealing. And doing things to either make some money or save some money. But it feels okay doing those things. Because somewhere in my mind, they're all like in service. This is becoming incorrect. I was gonna say that they become like in service of this, that you know, walking and talking being the important thing to me to do. That is engaging in this sort of communication with you. But it's actually like there's not a separation that's meaningful between doing what would seem like the meaningful real work of walking and talking, and then doing what the would be bullshit vicissitudes of life. Washing the dishes and cleaning things and trying to figure out where to dispose of my used brake rotors and all this baloney. And there's not separation. I don't know. Or maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. Like I have some idea that I should go directly towards the thing that has the least amount of contingencies that would interrupt it. And so walking and talking seems pretty contingency free, but then you find out that it's not. But then even inside of it, it's like all contingency of mind. Or you find that mind is all contingency. And that there's all this dirt in here. There's all that's impure. All these hang-ups and things that seem unflattering to the image of the person you'd like to be, you'd like to imagine yourself as. And then you're like, how do I fix these things first? I guess maybe that's in some way part of doing all the stuff that's outside of these videos. But then at some point you just go, At any given moment of speaking, there's this high possibility for me to just judge this whole everything that I'm doing very negatively. Like any of this that I'm saying could just be thrown out. It's not of value to you or to anyone or to myself, I don't think. This isn't necessarily true. Even though there's no ultimate value here, because value is just a relative concept. It's always relative to something else. It's like running up against all of these relative valuations. Points to some kind of activity that would seem to give an overarching perspective. But it's not really true, it's just unknowingness, just like kind of continuing. Like this whole time, like I still feel confused, honestly. As if we haven't gotten anywhere doing all of this. We really haven't. I really haven't gotten anywhere. I haven't gained any kind of clear understanding of stuff. It sure seems, you know. all I can really say is, in negative terms, as if I'm convinced by fewer and fewer things, or I'm attracted to fewer and fewer things as things, as something substantial, you know? It's like more and more of the phenomena of life and more of experience becomes more and more transparent as really just being fluctuations of one thing, but the one thing being more aptly described as nothing. So you could say it's like, I mean, this is also false, what I'm saying. That it's as if there's a progression towards more and more thorough recognition of all things being nothing. But paradoxically, you know, it's a progression into nothing, which isn't really a progression at all. Especially when, like, the experience of time also becomes more and more recognized as just nothing. I don't know, I've just been talking in these philosophical concepts, and like now I'm kind of recognizing them as such. So in some sense, I'm gonna redouble my efforts to speak in the way that seems as closely linked with my present experience as I can, and see how that goes. Part of the motivation of that is, you know, hearing myself speak in these conceptual ways, but then also being conscious of these other simultaneous thoughts going along that are also contradicting everything that I'm saying, and like thoughts relating to myself in a personal way, and like thoughts trying to reconcile apparent aspects of myself that seem contradictory to the things that I am saying. So obviously there's some kind of mental fragmentation occurring here. And so I kind of proceed in this long video, hoping that some of that fragmentation may become a little bit more unified, and something like clarity might emerge over time, or at least some kind of concentration, because so far I'm still like, this is whack, this video, the way that I'm speaking, this is disorganized and just kind of meandering between philosophical platitudes and unimportant autobiographical notes, and like I would judge it as a type of thinking out loud that maybe is better left off screen, uncommunicated, something that can take place behind the scenes in order to be able to present a more coherent message. Maybe I really should, you know? But then I suppose I also still have this inkling that in some way, retroactively, all of this lame, meandering part of speaking will be seen to belong somehow, and that's kind of just based on memory of past videos. Operating with a sort of hope that what is happening right now is somehow belongs in a sort of process of doing this. I feel scared. Of doing the wrong thing in life, you know? Of like making the wrong decision. Like what if my actions are not the right ones? What if I could have made better decisions in the past? But then, you know, I'm pretty quick to kind of cease that type of regretful thinking, or wondering if I should have done something different, just because it's not possible to change the past. And so I'm pretty fast to try to shift my thinking to the present and thinking, well, what is the right decision to make now? Hold on, there's some people. And yeah, I feel a little bit. I feel strongly confronted with the question of whether I'm making the right decision right now. Am I, like, is this kind of wrong? Because I'm just imagining your experience of watching or listening to this. And I'm imagining you questioning whether you're making the right decision of how to spend your time. Like this, I would imagine that this would seem like it would be a big question of whether this is just a waste of time, and probably a lot of people would like at some point already have decided that their time is better spent elsewhere, just in terms of, you know, getting anything. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. But then again, I'm always asking that question to myself. I guess not always, but I'm often asking myself that question. Even if I were doing something or engaging in something or consuming some sort of media or information that on its surface would seem to be coherent and logical and making sense of things, because there's so much where it's just like I can experience it as being just a translative experience, as in ostensibly I should be learning something, but I'm recognizing that learning as simply another configuration of reality, simply another way of configuring the map of reality. And sometimes it just seems arbitrary, and so I'm like, it starts to feel pointless to keep consuming information, because it's all the ostensibly new information is just slightly different configurations of the same nothing. But then also right now I'm like, I feel as if right now I'm simply reconfiguring the same nothing. Or not even really. I still feel like there's something inadequate about this here. Like there should be something different about this experience right now, and I'm waiting for something to happen. I feel as if I'm waiting for experience to be different. Like I'm waiting for more clarity, less questioning. I'm waiting to like realize something that only kind of exists as a idea now of what understanding the truth would be, or what living the truth would be, or something like that, or being fully actualized, or losing my identity, you know, of you know, ceasing to be a limited individual. And then I come to walk and talk, hoping that that experience will happen in walking and talking, because when I'm not walking and talking, or otherwise engaged deeply in some practice, or otherwise somehow distracted, or having sex, or whatever it is, you know, being deeply absorbed in something, that I'm being or doing something inadequate, that I'm not living as fully as I should be, or something like that. Like I can't help but expect something from this. And then at the same time, I know intellectually there's really nothing to get. And I feel really frustrated. Whoa, with what? I feel stupid. Hold on, there's another person coming. I have to act normal. Hello.
How you doing?
Good. Good, I said. I kind of can't believe that I've made it this far with walking and talking, that I've done this many, because just at this moment, the whole concept of it seems completely stupid, like ridiculous. Like, why would I just expose the flawed way that I think for this long? In real time. Like, this is what writing is for. To be able to edit and organize one's thoughts. And so why am I here just kind of rambling on in this disorganized fashion? Airing all the disorganization. And now I'm like striving to find ways of rationalizing this. Like, it'll be interesting for someone to see how psychology works or something like that, or somebody will come along for the ride and experience some kind of transformation in real time from a disorganized way of thinking into some relative clarity. It seems like there must be something here if I've managed to publish as many of these videos as I have. But damn, this feels insane. And painful. Like I can't I honestly can't in this moment pull out any redeeming virtue from what I'm doing. It's just like humiliation. Shouldn't I be doing this behind the scenes? So I can come out confidently with something that makes sense? This is stupid. I have to stop. I don't know. It makes me want to just stop this, but then I know somewhere else, I don't know, some other part of me is like, this is what you have to do. Like, if you don't face these demons here, then you won't face them anywhere, I think. But some part of me says it's important to go through this sort of humiliation. But like continuously, apparently. All the time. To like humiliate oneself over and over again. You know, there's this urge to run away and be like, to think of some excuse to not complete this video. like everything that I think of to say also feels stupid, in that I keep thinking of things that I've just said before, and I remember myself saying them before, and see myself wanting to fall back on these techniques that apparently worked in the past. This feels terrible. I feel really terrible. And it's just a terribleness that's like recognizing the truth. About myself. But then it's also like, I don't know. It's all, I guess it is all thoughts about myself that are also referent to something other, like perhaps other people or societal standards of value or whatever. But then now I just witness myself kind of like looking for some other intellectual platitude to comfort myself and console myself by identifying myself as doing the thing that is beyond present societal metrics of value or something. But honestly, right now it's well beyond my own system of valuation. Just kind of, I'm really just looking for something, because everything seems so empty. Like I can't ever be satisfied in simply upholding an image of what some exterior thinks I should be. But then again, this is also in relation to that ostensible exterior world, what it is that I'm doing. I'm just gonna right now try to just focus in harder. Because I can kind of sense myself flailing about in different value judgments or something, and in even somewhat dualistic language. So I'm just like focusing in on, I don't know, what seems to be my present experience, sensory experience, and there's the sensation of myself talking, but then of course I'm also mad because like I'm still hearing myself say stuff that I know I've said a million times before. Even this. Shit. I'm all patterns. Holy shit. Like absolutely everything that I would have identified as myself is only patterns. Even this. I've said this, I've gone down the same mental route a million times before of just like recognizing my thoughts as being conditioned and repetitive and cycles and just like a web that like holds up a story of myself. What the fuck? Even like all the sort of like affects that I'm affecting. I'm currently feeling very alienated from because I'm recognizing them as being patterned and just kind of repeating patterns. And it's like embarrassing also, but then it's like, who is it embarrassing to? Then it's just like who is the me that is embarrassed of behaving in a patterned way? Then it's like some other concept of self, apparently. So I have this notion that I have to just keep going at this. Like there's this alienation that has started to occur a little bit from my words, from speaking, but then but it keeps going. It's I would think this would be really confusing maybe to you if you haven't watched a bunch of these before. But like, wow, like what? I'm just gonna keep talking here, because otherwise I'm just, thinking non-stop. I think. So I feel deeply confused maybe partly it's like I really don't know what to say. And it feels apparent that anything that is said seems to be just like continuing to slice the pie in a different way, and it doesn't matter which way it's sliced. But that doesn't feel totally true either. I feel this intense dissonance. I feel an intense dissonance between the apparent meaning of the words. Like, I feel this intense dissonance between what I'm saying and reality. Like, I can't say anything that's not fake. I feel that very strongly. But then even that stance itself, god damn it, I'm such a fraud. I'm nothing but a fraud. I'm all fraud. I'm all fake. Like there's just nothing there's nothing underneath the facade. Have you ever felt this way before? It's like there's only the facade. But then like in some way there's not even the facade, or the facade is only there isn't even a facade. What the fuck? Like the facade would only be kind of like in relation to others. Damn. It's like it's as if I feel like for the first time ever that my entire life has been spent maintaining some image of selfhood that's like completely false. It's just totally, there's nothing that's not bullshit in it. But then at the same time I'm like, is that really true? Like how could it be that, you know, this is the first time you're experiencing that or something? Like that can't totally be true, because, but then also like I'm like intellectually at least I'm like, thinking something like, well, I've realized before that actually there never has been a self. Like no, there is no actual manifestation or something like that. Or that's all manifestation is only appearance or something like that. But then now it's like I'm observing like that idea as also simply like knowledge that is a part of the facade, that's part of the appearance. Like what the fuck? Like I can't it would seem as if I should have learned that there isn't a self multiple times, and then at the same time it's like that's actually just an idea that is part of the notion of self that's being like propped up by nothing, but well, or something. But then, you know, but now I'm thinking like, if there isn't anyone beneath the facade, it's like there's no one to blame, you know? Like there's no, it's as if there's no me to blame for holding up a fake facade of me. Like it's just something that happens. The blaming or the humiliation, the embarrassment is something that can only be from the perspective of being someone, of being a person, of being an individual. like the judgment of, being a bad individual or being a phony individual, a fraudulent individual. That judgment can only occur from the perspective of being an individual at all. And so it's like there's not like a virtuous individual, that gets to have substantiality from which to judge the unvirtuous individual. And then at the same time, I'm like, fuck, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of judging other individuals as being unvirtuous. And yeah, that seems like a mistake or a total misunderstanding. Or just, a very relative viewpoint. Maybe there are some cracks forming here, like whoa. Maybe there are some cracks forming. Like Leonard Cohen said, everything has a crack in it, and that's how the light gets in. Or that's how the light shines through. It's necessary to like crack up sometimes to totally fall apart. Man, what the fuck? Sorry. Excuse my flippancy. This is a serious matter. Let me apologize for that, affect that I took on. It's like for a moment, But then again, I'm like, I shouldn't be apologizing. This is insane. This just feels impossible. What is happening right now seems impossible. Like the talking, the apparent language that's happening, the dealing in concepts and meaning itself seems as if it's completely geared toward a relativistic understanding, or like actually a relativistic misunderstanding, and the existence of selfhood, of individuation, like meaning itself seems to be now like the major constituent of individuation, of separation. And then so it's like it feels to me as if like what's called for would be just an infinite amount of this humiliation. This like self-humiliation. An infinite amount of it is called for. Is almost demanded. And like, so, this is, I'm gonna like maybe attempt to stop reacting emotionally to the contradictions that I'm coming up against, and just kind of accept that they are contradictions and continue to try to work through them. And I'll state them even though they're contradictory. And so, like I just said, that an infinite amount of this humiliation, which I am here equating with this process of realizing the sort of fraudulent nature of oneself, the phoniness of oneself, but to put it in a slightly less judgmental term, the emptiness. Is demanded by something, I don't know what, maybe demanded by nothing. And then that's the sort of thing that, like, would seem to paradoxically bring some kind of meaning towards to the stupidness that I've been feeling during this video, the confusion, the embarrassment, the confused way of thinking, or just, yeah, I guess, like, you know, there's the confused way of thinking, and then there's also this like recognition of the confused way of thinking, and the continual recognition of the fraudulent way of thinking. But now, at the same time, also paradoxically, it's like the feeling, the emotional reactivity seems to be subsiding, and there's like a little bit more of just abeyance or accepting of the baselessness of everything, of the baselessness of the language that's seems to be present here, and like you may notice that there's more and more of this language of like seems or like apparent, because they're as a way to try to communicate just an infinite regress of illusion, an infinite number of layers of facades of reality and of selfhood, and these two things being in a way equivalent. like the as the facades of that constitute the self start to dissipate and become seen through. It's like equivalent layers of facades of the would-be external reality or objective reality get seen through as well. But there's no endpoint. There's no, beneath these layers, there's no solid point that you get to. There's no solid realization. Like that could only be sort of an idea. Like any solidity or any real knowledge is by its very definition simply another like relative confabulation that's relative to some other confabulated position. Like there can't be any knowledge without a knower, and then the knower and what is known would have to exist in relation to each other as separate. And then, but then like, so then that would, seem to imply the knowledge of the non-separation of the knower and the known. And, but then that's all that exists as knowledge. And then by its own sort of logic, it eats itself, it destroys itself. Like there's simply no getting anything. There's simply no getting anywhere. It's like just giving up. But you can't actually. You can't actually have like something like lasting peace or something by giving up the search or something. Which is, that like would be sort of advice from somebody else might say that, like, give up the search. And then you'll find liberation or freedom or something like that. But that's totally illogical, because it's like, the whole idea implies a number of things that are, by its own definition, false. Like, who is it that's going to give up? And then, if they give up, who is it that's going to have freedom? And so then, maybe it makes some kind of relative sense to say that there is only freedom, like that there is only freedom, always. And what seems to manifest as the self and other is only the freedom manifesting. But then it's also just a meaningless thing to say. Like, anytime you get to some point where, anytime you get to some apparent monism, like there is only this or there is only that, then the meaning of whatever word you're designating as being everything must vanish, because like, you know, it can't have any meaning if it's all that there is, because meaning is only relative to something other. Meaning only exists in some system of relations. And then, like, this is almost why you could say that, like, the confusion persists, the illusion persists. This is why the illusion of, like, self and other, and the illusion of meaning, and the illusion of, like, being able to attain something, or gain something, or get something, or understand something, or have something like peace, or have something like freedom. It has to persist because, you know, it's because, like, the unity that seems to be pointed to by separation, the two are so completely baked into each other, they so completely are inextricable from each other, that it's like I mean, I might as well, you could either say that neither exist, or you could say that both exist, or that they are each other. And so, like, me being the most, like, confused, rambling idiot in one part of the video, versus me speaking with, like, some kind of apparent conviction or something like that, are equivalent to each other. They're not equivalent to each other. They just are the same. So it's like you can't. There can be no judgment, or it's like, I mean, I don't know. I can. But yet there is, and yet there must be, like. Cool moss, cool fungus. Like, you ever notice how it feels kind of shitty to, like, be judging other people? Like, I don't know. Like, I'll inevitably kind of judge other people, and simultaneously have a shitty feeling while I'm doing it. Like a shitty, contracted, separated feeling when I'm judging somebody else, like, that motherfucker is acting out of accord with nature, out of accord with the way reality really is. And if they simply understood the way reality really is, they would not act in such a selfish, nincompoopish way. If only they understood what I understand. But then, you know, it's like I recognize the dissonance that's present. I recognize the contracted feeling of self that is cast up in that experience, and then feel like this disequilibrium that draws me towards doing something like this, where I'm spending 4 hours walking and talking and not running away when I feel mortifyingly humiliated. I don't know if that's a proper grammatical construction there, but mortified and humiliated. Mortified meaning like, that's a good word actually, like realizing the just like complete and profound misunderstanding that constitutes myself. That just like the complete and utter confusion and falsehood that is myself. And, you know, seeming to like maybe die in the process or something, but that's not really true. If only I could make such grandiose claims. Okay, newsflash: I'm sorry to keep doing this, but the battery keeps screwing up and, you know, not accepting a charge from my external battery pack, and then the camera stops and so on. And it seems to be working at this moment, but it also means that at any moment the battery could die and the camera will stop and the video will essentially be over. So let us kind of use this as a metaphor for life, because one never knows when one's own battery could run out or malfunction or cease to function due to some external contingency, etc. And the real mortification commences. It's always there. It's always imminent. But then, you know, that's also not really true. It's death is always there as a distinct possibility at any moment from the relative phony perspective of us individuals. But then it's like it's pretty much okay, you know. It's fine is like a decent way of putting it. Just in the sense of like, what's going on here is it's okay, it's fine, it belongs, even if it's painful. The pain belongs. The embarrassment belongs. You know, I keep on noticing this impulse arise to find a direction, to find something to say that seems to imply a direction or some moral imperative, some kind of imperative, you know, like I started talking about death, you know, in a way that would seem to be like a sort of philosophical bridge into some kind of moral or philosophical imperative about, you know, live each moment to the fullest or something, because you might die at any moment. But it's actually just not there. There's just actually no there's no real direction, you know. There can be, and there always are, fake directions. There's always apparent morality. There's always, you know, there's always apparently decisions to make by somebody. And in that sense, you know, there can be apparently right or wrong decisions and right or wrong things to do. So it's fine. I don't know. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to tell you to do. There's nothing for us to do. But then like you can't but this also isn't true. Like if I say that and I leave it there, then that just like apparently seems to become, you know, the wisdom that was gained through all of this. But it's not actually true. There's nothing to be gained, and there's no one to do the gaining. There's absolutely no point to this, you know? And by this I mean like everything. There's just this going on. And it's not even going on. There isn't even this. There's not even this going on. Like we might kind of seem to be experiencing something. Maybe there's a tone or an attitude or an affect or that implies some sense of conviction here, or some sense of probing into things. But that would also merely, you know, that's not real. This isn't real. This isn't real, nor is even like anything that would imply. Like me stating this isn't real. I mean, if you actually take the implications to that, it just eats itself. Like, if this isn't real, then, you know, then it's not real. I don't know how to say it differently. Like nothing I've said is true. And that's... including that, and including that. And I could just, you know, there's this like I've already said. I've already said this. There's simply infinite layers of falsehood. But then there's not, but then there's also not. It's like there's absolutely nothing, but then there's so absolutely nothing that there's also something. Do you catch my drift? It doesn't make sense, and it never will. There's so nothing that there's something. It's, you know. And then, but it's like, it's in such a way that like, the way it is, it has to be this way. Like, you know how it seems like really convincingly like that there is something, but that like there's something that's not good enough. And so hence there's like a future and a past compared to the present. And you know how it seems like you could make choices, some better and some worse, and then there could be a future that could be better than the present. You know that feeling? Seems really real, and it has to seem that way. Like there has to be this totally nonsensical like mixture of what seems real and what seems unrealized. Or like there's what seems real and it seems inadequate. It seems incomplete. It seems to necessitate something other than itself. It seems to, you know, like there can't just be only what is now. Because like, you know, even just like looking at it through the broad brush stroke lenses, a broad lens of conditions. Shit's fucked up. And actually, shit has to be fucked up. Like, shit's, and I mean, it's really fucked up. It's so fucked up that it's like, it can't be like this. You know what I mean? You know, do you understand? You have to have this experience where it's like, you can be like, look at the way the world is, and you're like, holy fucking shit, it can't be like this. This cannot be life. You know what I'm saying? Like, this can't be how it is. And then from there follows, we gotta fucking do something about this. We gotta fucking change something. Cause it can't be like this. Give me a fucking break. You know? But then it has to be like this. I mean, It has to be like everything that I just said. Like, it has to be fucked up, and by nature of being fucked up, meaning like it could be better. It could. Like it could be what it's not. And that's true too. It could be what it isn't. It could be what it could be. And then you know what follows from that? You know what's inextricable from that? It's like you could do something. You could. And also you know how it's like you're kind of fucked up? You know what I mean? I this is absolutely not a judgment. I'm just saying, like, you know how it's like this experience of being an individual and being like specifically you as an individual is like kind of fucked up. Like, you know how sometimes, you know, maybe often, maybe not so often, maybe more often than not, maybe a lot, maybe all the time, you're kind of like, I can't be this way. This is fucked up. I can't be like this. Or something like, my life can't be like this. Or my conditions, my situation can't be like this. It's got to be something a little different. It could be something different. Maybe better. You know what I mean? And I'm saying it has to feel like that. Kind of. You know how it seems like you could do something in the world? Well, it's true. You could. But then it's also not true. It's also like there isn't any you and there isn't any world and there's no doing something. But then it also has to seem like that. Because of this fucked up, like, impossible and paradoxical mixture of like what is and what isn't, that is just completely necessary. Like, it has to be this way. Just like, you know, following from like the nature of nothingness. Nothing is so nothing. You just can't. Nature is so nothing, you can't just like. Sorry, I got distracted. Nothing is so nothing. That there also has to be something, you know? Like nothing, because nothing can't be something. Like nothing isn't a... Like nothing can't be like that. You know what I'm saying? And so nothing makes something, if you will. I mean, that's not exactly true, but then there's something and there's nothing kind of like coexisting as each other, like they are each other. They're not really coexisting, they just are each other. And it's paradoxical, right? It's totally paradoxical. It doesn't make fucking sense. And so like, it's like everything else extends from that. And so everything else is not quite fucking right. But then also it is. Everything's totally correct and belongs. Everything belongs, and it's fucked up. And it could be something else. Like there's always the could be. There's always the potential that's totally baked into the actual. And the potential is also what doesn't exist, what's not. And there's it's like everything's not. Just like this video, it's like fucked up, and it's fucked up, in every way. It's shitty. It's a shitty video. But then it belongs. Sort of. So then it's like that let's focus here for a second. Let's focus. So like this like could be something different that is at the heart of the world and you, that like you could do something, you could be different, and the world could be different, and the world could function differently. And that's like that characteristic of you and the world are just completely is inextricably baked into the definition of the world and to you. It's completely baked into the nature of anything that quote unquote exists. You and the outs and what's not you. And so like that's what is that other than this experience of separation, of like limitedness, of like, why does it seem like there's me in the world? And this feeling of not complete, of could be, gotta get something, gotta know something, gotta understand something, gotta change something, gotta move through time, gonna experience my future, gotta move through the present into the future. Yeah, gotta do that. With the knowledge gained from the past as my guide, but then it's like you're never solid, It's like the could be, it's like the potentiality is actually like what's experienced to be solid. Like what if you look at anything that you think to be, either as an aspect of yourself or of the external world or of another person, like you look close, you actually examine that aspect, and then you find it actually not to be solid, but to be only potentiality. And you're like, WTF? How come there's only this nothing? How come there's only this transience? Or like there only seems to be something when in the transit of looking from one thing to another. There only seems to be something in the transit of relating from one to another. And then it's like, okay, so if you, it's like, so if what we, there's this desire to feel solid, You know what I mean? I want to feel real. I want to feel real. I want to make something of myself, which is, you know, it's like, I want to realize myself, and in relation to the world, in relation to some sort of value system. I want to define myself. I want to find meaning in the world. And I understand that that meaning is only in relation to others. And I understand that that definition of self is only in relation. And then that even, like, you know, defining, you know, how the world should, never mind on that part. I want to be somebody in you know, I could be somebody, not even necessarily, you know, from whatever value system, whether it's being rich and famous, and having lots of shit and having lots of money and lots of power, or it's like I want to be, or it's some other value system, like I want to be a good person, I want to help, I want to make a difference, I want to help others, I want to make the world a better place. It's like both of those are, you know, realization. Basically, this via, you know, kind of letting the miasma dualize, letting the nothingness dualize, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not, but like maybe not so much. But it's like realizing oneself is actually just like really the same as delving into the nothingness. It's really the same as delving into the void. It's so effed up, isn't it? Isn't that fucked up? Like what sort of on the surface would seem like you're gonna solidify yourself, it's kind of the opposite. It's actually you're going into the void of potentiality. Right in there. And because it's like that nothingness is the something. It's like if you want to be the something, you gotta be the nothing. This doesn't make any sense. This is absolute bullshit. If let me apologize if I ever start to adopt some kind of air of wisdom or of knowing fucking anything. Come on. Just tell me to come on. Just tell me to give you a break. In fact, always just tell me to come on. Just always. I think that should be your attitude towards me. It should be like, Ben, come on. Ben, give me a fucking break. Especially if it starts to seem like I'm onto something. If it starts to seem like I'm making sense, that should be your clue that I need to come on and give you a fucking break. Come off it. Because I'm never actually on anything. I'm never actually right. My conviction, the level of my apparent conviction is also the level of how much bullshit I'm all up on. Including this part. If you're ever looking at me or listening at me and thinking to yourself at any moment, at any like little moment, that I might seem like a real motherfucker, then you can be assured that I'm fake. That I'm just an apparition. Appearing from the void. I'm just a mirage. I really am. This is a mirage. This right here. This right here. This aspect of your experience is fake. Is not solid. What you're hearing, what you seem to be hearing, what you seem to be experiencing right here, it's fake. It's not real. This isn't real. But that extends to all of your experience, everything. But then maybe it is. Maybe it is. You can't trust me. Don't trust me. Don't take my word for it. I'm not really your friend. 'Cause I'm not real. I'm nothing but your own void appearing to you. I'm nothing but your own emptiness seeming to yell at you. You fake motherfucker! You're fake! But it's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. But and yet it's not. It's not. This isn't happening. And that seems like what we can extrapolate everything from. Everything's an extrapolation from this not happening. But it seems like there's some kind of relief. But, that's... It's not exactly true. I mean, relief from relief, there's relief from the perspective of an individual. But total relief just dissipates into nothing. And so there's actually nothing that experiences total relief. But then that relief is total because the nothing is total. Like, there's only relief. There's only relief which expresses itself as tension and as problems and as fucked upness. Like, there's only absolute peace expressing itself always as fucked upness. But then you can't misconstrue that to mean that the absolute peace is somehow more real than the fucked upness. The fucked upness is still fucked up. And it's as real as it is fucked up. And like, another way of saying the fucked upness is it can't be this way. It simply cannot be this way. Look how, I mean, that's how things are. The way things are is such that they cannot be this way. What the Let me apologize for taking on this excitable affect. I know it's fake, but so would any other way. be. This is just you here. You're doing this, and you could stop. You could do a lot of things. You could stop making me be this way. You could stop it. There's so nothing to get, and yet there's no stopping of the needing to get something. There's so, like, you know, nothing to get to, nothing to change, and yet there's never gonna not be that feeling. And it's larger than a feeling. It's just the way things are. Because the way things are, they just aren't. Things aren't the way they are. Or maybe they are the way they are, but they aren't the way they aren't. But they could be the way they aren't. There's nothing more to say. But there's nothing more to say. But there's also nothing else to do. There's nothing else to do. So I'm going to keep walking and talking. And maybe, you know, I'll just maybe hopefully, or actually hopelessly, maybe hopelessly, this humiliation will continuously realize its continuous and infinite nature. Through continuing to be confused and contradictory and paradoxical and just stupid and whack. but in such a hopeless way that it's like that doesn't get to be a finished like goal. That it doesn't get to this doesn't get to justify itself ever. Walking and talking doesn't get to make sense of itself. The same way that reality doesn't get to make sense of itself. Ever. It just can't. And we can't just even, we can't just be like, we're gonna be whack and contradictory and paradoxical, and that's just how it is, and that's the end of it. There's no end of it. There's no fucking end. This is always going to be incomplete, and so much so that there's not even there isn't even the always, there isn't even any always of it. Like it always has to actually suck. And it'll even, its existence can't ever be assured. Like even the existence of this world of being within walking and talking, apparently, or something like that. Like my battery is screwed up. The camera keeps screwing up. It's not accepting the charge from the external battery as fast as it is expending its own juice, and so it keeps stopping. It keeps freezing and turning off, and so it's like I don't even get the solidity of existing within this framework of practice. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even get to frame what I'm doing here as some kind of assured productivity, because I don't even know if I'll be able to meet my own requirements for a video. Already it's been interrupted, and I have to wait a few minutes for the camera to like charge up a little bit more, and then I turn it on and hope that I can record for another couple minutes or however long it'll be before it turns off, and so I'm failing even the very framework of this experience itself is just effed up. And so like I don't get to exist safely within any kind of notion that I'm doing something. Because if the camera doesn't record, then I'm just out here talking to myself. I'm not even communicating. And if the video doesn't meet the requirements, then I'm not even communicating with you. But then apparently, because I'm saying this still, I am still communicating with you. So apparently we can tell that the future me decided to, the now past self to you, but future me to me, will decide / did decide to publish the video, and hence this communication exists. But there's not really any communication, you know what I'm saying? It's just nothingness. There's not anything happening here. There's nothing being communicated. And so I have to accept the fucked upness of this, and that I could do something. I could buy another $50 battery and hope that that works. Hope that that solves the problem. But then it's like, you know, every single aspect of existence continues to be a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything about living is a problem. Everything about existing, like, how can it not be a problem? You know what I mean? Like this. It's like all problem. It's economically not, it's like what I'm doing is like, you know, kind of economically impossible. It doesn't work, you know? I'm not making a living. If anyone wants to wonder, like, how do you make a living? I really don't. In the terms that you're probably thinking of. I don't make a living. Because everything's impossible. Everything's impossible. Advertisements are acts of psychological violence. And even asking for Patreon money, which I do, is I feel like is violent in a way. Because it's like, it necessarily is like making some kind of claim that something should be a certain way, that like this, that there should be more of this. It's making some kind of claim that this should be realized in the world. But that's not real, you know? It's like, you know, this is just another shape of fucked upness. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know how this is like kind of unsatisfying, or maybe it's, or like maybe you do get some kind of some form of something like satisfaction, but then you understand at the same time that there's an equal amount of uneasiness baked into that satisfaction. And it's like that with everything. Absolutely everything. The more satisfying something is, the more unsatisfying it is. Damn! But the good news is that you realize everything is impossible. And so you can just go ahead and do it. You can do anything. You can do anything because all of it's impossible. Like this video, like the technology is not even supposed to work this way to make these 4-hour videos. It's like, shouldn't even be working. It just barely, it barely even does. Like if I ever described the way that I'm living and what I'm doing, like, to anyone, It's got to be like, how does that work? And my answer is it doesn't really work. Oh hey, beaver house. Cool house, beavers. Even the beauty of nature, you know. It's like you can't really have it. You know what I mean? You can never really keep it. Like the more you want to have the beauty of nature, or like experience it, you know, the more you fuck it up. Because in a sense, you're always battling against the world to live. Is that true? Does it have to be that way? The way that it is that we constantly have to destroy the substrate on which we depend. We're constantly destroying ourselves, basically. We're constantly debasing ourselves. And that's the way it is. But could it be different? Seems like it could be. And I know, like what I'm saying is also just kind of incoherent with everything else that I've said. Incompatible. This could end at any minute. The battery is like on its last juice. And it seems like that with the world too, doesn't it? Or like, you know, this version of it. really seems increasingly like it's could just fall apart at any second, or like it is falling apart. It seems increasingly like the world is falling apart, but then also it's like it seems increasingly like reality itself is falling apart. So much though that it wasn't ever solid. There wasn't ever something that wasn't falling apart. It wasn't ever not fucked up. Things seem increasingly how they are. Things are more the way they are now than they ever have been. Hat tip to my boy. I could have an aneurysm at any moment. And just, like that in the blink of an eye. But it's not a problem. I mean, it is a problem in the same sense that everything is nothing but problem. There's only problem. To such an extent that the concept of problem loses its meaningfulness. And that doesn't mean anything. It's still a problem. But it's the problem that belongs. This problem, or whatever problem you perceive, is the problem that belongs. I'm starting to feel like this video belongs in all its shittiness. This is the shitty video that belongs, I think. And, might I add, also the audio podcast that belongs on all of your favorite podcast distributors. All right, video people. All right, YouTube viewers. Oh man, I was gonna try to get a gander at this dragonfly, but it took off. Well, we can look at other things close, like this burl. Cool burl. Some animal is making some noise over there. There's not really a real reason that I go in, ostensibly beautiful nature. I just try to go somewhere where I can be away from other people. Like I was trying to go to this wrecked vacant lot. This torn down empty building today, but I couldn't do it there because there was a security guard. But I'm gonna try again. Stay tuned. This is just the section where it's like we're just this isn't really any kind of section. I was gonna say we're just indulging in meaningless particulars. But it's also just the same as everything. Like maybe I'll just like spend the rest of this time trying to convince you to give me money on Patreon. Not because I feel like that's real and good, and not because I like feel in some kind of ultimate sense that this is somehow more important than something else you might do with your money. But because there's nothing else to do. Or, because everything else is equally the way this is. Like the way this is, it seems, maybe in some way this seems a little different or something. But it's equally the same as how everything else is. Because also, difference and sameness imply each other. They're contained in each other. Like the difference is only perceptible because it exists in a medium that is the same as other stuff. So, if this is a different kind of YouTube video, it's because it's a YouTube video, which is the same as a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is a YouTube video. Which isn't exactly the point that I'm making. I'm just saying the difference is only perceivable because of sameness. And vice versa. Like sameness, for something to be the same as something else, then you have to be able to perceive that it isn't that something else. Like if you're saying one thing is the same as the other thing, you're also saying that there's a difference there between the thing and the thing that it's the same as. It doesn't mean anything. It's it's arbitrary. It's arbitrary to think about this stuff. But maybe I talk in this way because I wish that there was more shit out there like this that was in some way like always eating itself. But I guess it does. It does. This is the same as everything else. This is the same as everything. Everything is like this, like walking and talking. It's exactly the same. We could also essentially think of this as waiting for the camera battery to die. It could happen at any moment. But life, I could think about life as that way, and without, without any extra cognitive dissonance than I would otherwise have, waiting to die. It's fine. You can do that. There's no one stopping you from adopting that attitude towards life as waiting to die. You could, just saying. Think about the difference between this part of the video and the beginning of the video. Like the first half hour. It's so different. Sorry, the camera died again. It's, it's really getting increasingly on its last legs. But then what I'm doing here is this external battery pack has like a solar panel on it, so when the battery dies, I just turn off the camera and I wait for it to charge for several minutes and put the solar panel in the sun so that it hopefully at least dies slower, because it's getting a little bit of electricity generated from the photovoltaics. Anyhow, I was talking about the beginning of this and just how neurotic the experience was and how frantically we're searching for something. I should claim all responsibility. How frantically I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing and what the hell the meaning of this is. And how unpleasant the experience is. And then now, I'm really just chilling, staring at a lake, and feel fine even when I'm not saying anything. And, feel genuinely, like, emotionally accepting of what comes out of my mouth. Even in full recognition of its incompleteness and the impossibility of really becoming something, but then the inevitability of always becoming, that everything is always becoming. And so, like, there's this drastic difference in, like, emotional valence or tone or existential tenor or something along those lines between how one would emotionally categorize this experience as opposed to the former part of this video, the beginning of it, and yet they're completely connected to each other. They're completely inextricable to each other. And so this, like, you know, if you want, I'm tempted to draw like a positive type of, or an optimistic. Well, not exactly optimistic, I want to say, but like not really optimistic, but like, I don't know what I still don't know what I'm saying. But I think you understand the gist of this connectedness. Which in the present state, it's actually hard for me not to characterize this as having an inherent goodness to it. And what I mean by this is just like existence, and I mean everything that could be included under that, including, you know, what is and what could be and what isn't, and all the fucked upness that is part of it, as being like, you know, not that there's a real base to it, but that the baselessness is also kind of an infinite goodness. But just, you know, don't take off running with that too much, you know. Don't take too much. Don't get ahead of yourself. Because it's still all a problem too. You know what I'm saying? Don't just walk away with a warm fuzzy feeling and nothing else. That's not how we do it. But if you know, if you want to have some kind of like, if you want to take some kind of comfort, it's fine. It's fine. Just don't get stupid. Or do. It's fine. Anyhow, if you give me some money on Patreon, then I'll use it to do things like buy another expensive ass GoPro battery and do stupid things like replace air filters and brake pads and rotors and calipers on my car. I did it myself, you know. It was a pain in the ass because I got the wrong parts in the mail. But the freaking Pep Boys, they quoted me $1,000 to replace my two front rotors, calipers, and pads. I'm like, what the so I did it myself for like, I don't know, like probably around $200 in parts, and, you know, spent a day and then like the better part of one day because I got the wrong parts. So it was a little bit of pain in the ass, but like, that's the sort of thing that I do. Which I don't know why I'm telling you this. I don't know why this is evidence that you should give me money on Patreon, other than I can say something like, I won't like throw it out the window to Pep Boys when they're trying to charge me $1,000. But I will buy a new GoPro battery, even if they're charging me out the ass. Even if they're ripping me off, because I have no other choice. For this, all for you. It's not really all for you. It's It's for me. Because I love fame. It seems like I should say something wise, since we never know when the camera will die, and this will be over. But there's not real urgency now. Or we could say there's equally as much urgency in the silence. But just remember, if you suspect something is bullshit that you encounter, you can be sure that it is, because everything is. Especially this. Like, does this... Just examine this aspect of your experience and what effect this has on your experience. Is there something good about this? Because I kind of suspect that to the extent that there's something good here, or that this does something good to your experience, there's also there's an unpleasant or an uneasy or uncomfortable side of that accompanying it. You know what I mean? Because it's a video or it's audio, and it's like something, and you're like, it's like something, or it you project something off of it, or it implies that in some way some things could be different, or maybe it implies something like you could do something different, or you know, you could do something maybe even like this, or maybe not like this, but it triggers in your mind some way in which something that you're doing or some way that you're living could be some other way. And that's sort of that bit of unease is like embedded in what seems good about something. I probably should have ended a little while ago on a more comforting note rather than sowing all this doubt into your mind. But you know how walking and talking is. We just keep going. That's how it is. We go past when it seems appropriate. I really do want to congratulate you, though, on sticking with this thus far. This video or this audio. I almost can't believe it. Like, I kind of feel like it would be more work for me to sit and listen to something like this than it is to make it. And so, if you've listened to this whole thing, I mean, even just this video, not the whole series necessarily, I mean, that would be another feat. But even if you've just listened to this episode up till now, I'm thoroughly impressed. You really have patience. And understanding. Like, to be as accepting as you have been of all of the shitty parts, the bullshit, the confusion, the dead ends, the false flags, the contradictions. The lameness. It's really just compassionate of you and demonstrates a lot of wisdom. You are a thoroughly wise and compassionate person. I'm just buttering you up to get you to donate money to me at patreon.com/Benjamin Bennett. So that you can continue to nurture your compassion and wisdom and make them expand and flourish and spill out all over the world Maybe I started to relax prematurely because now, you know, I start to get that feeling like the end of the video is imminent, but now the battery has actually seeming to be working. It seems to work. Seems to be working. It still could end at any moment here, but it's gone on a bit, and so I'm like, oh, maybe I actually will have to keep talking for a while. Is this talking? Getting lazy. I'm just trying to make, some content that's like not violent, but it's not possible. It's not really possible. But like I said before, nothing's actually possible. But you do it anyway. Yet here it is. Yet here it is. Here is the impossible. Like, I mean, just look. There's you. Look, it's you. You're alive. That's not even possible. I mean, it's like so highly improbable that it's infinitely improbable that you are alive right now. Isn't it? if we're, operating under any kind of Euclidean or Newtonian notion of space-time, where there's a world without you in it, and then there's you when you're born, and then you die, and then there's a world without you in it, for a duration of time that, if it's not infinite, it's so goddamn long that it's practically infinite compared to the relatively imperceptibly short. Okay, I promise to buy a new battery so we can have less of this interruption. Oh, hey, there's a newt. Sick. But I should probably not indulge in staring at the newt here for the audio-only listeners. But I can describe. I'm at the edge of this lake, and the water is very clear, and there's some leaves on the bottom of it, and there's a green newt swimming around. It's like kind of like a salamander, but more aquatic. Kind of looks like an elongated tadpole with 4 legs. Incredibly cute. Oh, and I see another one. I'm gonna have to pry myself away from this. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm prying myself away from the newts in order to keep walking and talking. But now I'm seeing them. Now I'm seeing them everywhere. And this just makes my day, and it's continuing. It's continuing to prove my point by disproving my point. I'm staying consistent in being totally inconsistent. Oh, another newt. Sick. Do you understand what I mean? Like, now there's just things. Now there's just little things here that make me happy. I'm made happy by things and stuff. Particular things and stuff in the world that seem to exist, and I'm happy. That they exist. Which is, totally antithetical to everything else that I've been saying. Totally contradictory, except if we take the underlying thesis of, everything being paradoxical. Then it would seem to confirm that or disconfirm it. God damn it. I don't actually... It doesn't make sense. That there's such beauty, it doesn't make sense. It's like impossible. That even, Like, why would there be this experience of like perfection in a lake, a clear lake full of newts? Like, what the hell is going on? And also, where's the fucked up part of this? It doesn't seem like there's anything fucked up about this. It seems just unequivocally great. So I'm wrong again. Also, this zone is covered by stumps that have been chewed off by beavers, apparently. Beaver chewed stumps. I'm sorry, you just cannot take anything, you cannot trust me. I told you before that you can't trust me. Everything that I'm gonna say is gonna turn out wrong. Maybe even that. There's another newt. I'm sorry, it's like, you know, you probably can't see. Can you see him? Can you see that newt? Bear with me. It's in the middle of the screen. Okay, I think this is about all the battery can take. It's like really dying now, so I think I'm gonna have to. And I'm devolving myself into. There's an insane beaver dam right here, but bye.